Hi there, in this video I will show you how to put together the Snowman Christmas Countdown, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here are all the pieces, and it seems like a lot, but there's all these pieces right here. This is the little holder for the blocks, and this is the optional little base at the bottom that will have the Stays Until Christmas in the front. You don't need to include that. I mean, that's an extra. Then we have these are the pieces of the head and the body of the snowman. And then we have the little pieces, the numbers, and a couple little things in here, like the nose and the scarves. So I don't lose them. This is the hat. You can't really see that, but we'll probably do that first so we can have like a background color, but actually we'll do that in a little bit, but I'll need to get a lighter color. These are the pieces. So we have these pieces for the snowman, 2 black, 1 for the head, 1 for the body. So we're going to do that first actually. Let's just get that done. And then we have these pieces, and you'll see what those are once we get to it. So we'll get the head with the cutout, and then we'll put those other pieces over there. And then we have 2 of these, which I already put one together. That's the cube for the block, and then some panels, and that will go on to the cube, the block holder. I think I'll just call it block holder. So I went and just got a piece of a different color paper so you can see the black portions okay. So we'll go ahead and take this cutout with the buttonholes, kind of like the square buttonholes. I tried to make this an easy to put together snowman, so anybody doing this project, it would be a extensive project, but it wouldn't take as long as, let's say, you had to do something that was circular. Because, you know, this should be a fun project to put together. So I'm just making sure I don't get the glue next to my hands. Make sure you put this on correctly, so there's that big part on the bottom. Then we're going to just get the, there's 2 pieces for the scarf, and then we'll get the nose out. So we might as well just add that on. Those are the numbers in there. However you want to put it on, I'm going to put it on to the right. I'm going to put a little bit on the back of this, but and then this, put this big piece down first, and then we layer on the top piece next. Well, I only have this piece of paper until we get to where we don't have black pieces anymore. Kind of flip those up, didn't glue them down, but that's up to you. You can glue them down. This would be a good gift for, well, obviously it would be good for kids in the house. I decided to make a snowman because I'm kind of partial to snowmen. But it would be a good project to make for your kids, to count down to Christmas, or for grandkids or something like that. It's just kind of a fun little thing. And you could actually use the snowman by itself if you wanted to, or put something else on the countdown. So I'm going to put that aside. We're going to get the hat. Might as well get the black parts out here. So we're going to fold it. Make sure you fold it like this, with all the tabs, and you can see, trying to get it angled so you can see it. Oh, they won't do the bottom first. Let's do the side. So you can't lay it flat, but you can kind of get it flat once you get it together. So just kind of line it up, line that edge up to the tab fold. Be careful that you don't get glue on the outside. And if you do, you can do this. I have a little wet paper towel. So once I get it in place, then I can flip it down and just apply pressure against that tab. And just make sure it's good and secure before you go on to do the other tabs. Some glue takes longer than others. So here's the top. We're just going to add glue to these 3 tabs, being careful not to get too close to the edge. And I am using primarily American Crafts cardstock, which is my preference. It's textured and it's 80 pound in weight. I have used other cardstocks, but I almost have not almost every color, but have every color that I would prefer to have for American Crafts. But it's kind of hard to get sometimes. It's easier to get in packs than it is to get single, but they're like Piecing Paradise that's one of the shops that I partner with, and they carry a lot of the colors. That was Surrey in the background. Just came on just by itself. Yes, the apple Surrey. So I just made sure those were all lined up. So that's the top, and then the bottom, the same thing. We just flip down those tabs. I didn't really explain it too much the first time, but same thing. Flip down the tabs. When it comes to doing one that's closed, of course I won't be able to reach inside to apply pressure like I could the first set. This one, you kind of want them kind of sticking up a little bit because we want it to grab the glue. And then you just kind of want to lightly place it down. Kind of line up the edges. You can push in the sides and line up this part to the tabs. And I just kind of go around and rub where the tabs are. And then we can go ahead and do this. So you might want to hold it for a little bit to make sure that it stays and it doesn't pull apart. And then we'll just go ahead and just center it on this. There's no cut lines or anything to help you. Just go ahead and you can see how narrow it is. Just gonna go ahead and just eyeball it and center it. If you want to go back a little bit, if you want this back, I kind of went backwards a little bit, didn't. So it's not equidistant on all sides. It's bigger on the sides. I'm just trying to get a different look for the snowman. So it'll look like that once it's on. But I wanted the width, but the depth is not the same. I need to get a little bit more glue down there because I didn't do it. So, and this one, just as this is drying, that's a print and cut that's with the file, but you could actually take off, since it's an SVG format, you could take the days until Christmas, put your own saying. It could just say Merry Christmas, or you can put your own tag that's sized similarly. So that wasn't perfect, but there's the hat. So I'm going to put that aside with the other pieces. And I already put one of these together, but I'm going to put the other one together. So to fold it, you can see we just fold it like this, just folding on all the score lines. And then we'll just go ahead and start gluing it. So I'm going to add the glue to this tab first. And then we're going to glue it to the inside of the adjacent edge. And then line up that edge with the tab fold. So if you can see, I want to get it nice and lined up. So this is where we're going to put the numbers on. So what's nice about that, once you get it in place, you can just reach in and apply pressure against the tab. The only time we can't do that is the very last part. And I'm going to do the other side. I had it turned around for a second, it confused me. So I'm just lining it up. Try to keep it as clean as possible, because you know this is the block you're going to flip over for the days. I wanted to do something that was like, I wanted to do an advent calendar, not obviously, but I ran out of time, so this is the best alternative to it, because an advent calendar, the way I wanted to do it, would take a significant amount of time, and we're already in that window. So if we're all crafty next year, I'll just do it next year. I had an idea, and I just ran out of time this year. So I thought I would do a cute Christmas countdown box. I have a perpetual calendar already, and somebody had made it into a couple people made it into a countdown box by just adding Christmas elements. But I thought, no, I kind of want to do a 3D-ish one. I was going to do kind of a flat thing on top, but I ended up doing a little 3D snowman. So just like we did the hat, we just have this last opening here. So we're just going to add glue carefully. And again, you don't want glue on the outside of this because it'll be seen. So wipe it off quickly if you get it. So I'm just lining up this last panel to all the tab fold edges here. And then just applying pressure. Now, if this is difficult for you, you might want to practice. I mean, it's only like, I've done a lot of them, but I haven't done one in a while. But it's just this last piece that's usually the issue. And I've done several, so I have the 2 cubes. So I'm going to show you how to put the numbers on. So in order for you to have the blocks you need to go from typically 24 days, or 20, you could say 25 days, you could even do 30s, but you have to have certain numbers on the blocks. So on the first block it would be 0, both blocks have 0, 1, 2. And then one will have 3, 4, 5. In addition, the other one will have 6, 7, 8. And remember, the 6 is also a 9. So all you have to do is move the block upside down and it becomes a 9. So that's how we do it. So all we're going to do is center all these numbers on there. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not going to talk through it. So just take one block. We'll do this first row and then we'll do the second row. So we got all the numbers on there. So as you can tell, I used a glitter, like a glitter paper. And so now we can say, you know, 10 days, flip like. So I tried to center them, but you could use a different font, or you could actually make these a little bit bigger too, the numbers. But 20 days, not 27, let's just say 21. And if you want 9 days, that would be 09, or 6 days. So anyways, in the file it's matched up as black cardstock, but I decided to use some glitter black because I thought it would be fun. So those are done. So now we have to put together together the snowman, because that's a little bit harder than the other parts. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm laughing at my dog. She's in here begging for I can't say the name, T-R-E-A-T. I have to spell it out because she knows what it is. She knows how to spell it too. Anyways, so we're going to take this is the head. And so where it connects right here, this tab, it's just going to go right like this. And this is the bottom. So I built it so that's the bottom, so you knew which side would be the bottom of it. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to that tab. And then we're going to line this edge up, right up to that fold. Not over the fold, just right up to it. Get it lined up on the top and on the sides. And once you get it lined up, you actually can flip it over and apply pressure. It just doesn't flatten because of the shape. Not very easily. You could flatten a piece of it. So we'll do that the same here, since after you get it all folded. So make sure you fold all the tabs first. I have to shorten these videos a little bit sometimes by doing a couple things in advance. So if you need to pause, that's understandable. Then we go ahead and line this edge up just like we did the first for the head. And again, where I'm gluing it, this tab is considered the bottom of the body. And then we'll head on to the next step, which is adding the fronts and backs. So now we have these pieces. Let's move this out of the way here. So we have these pieces that we glued together. What we're going to do, we'll take the little pieces for the head first. There's the same process for both. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip these open so they're trained already. They're folded so they'll be ready to go. And the other ones are folded. So you can either reach in and apply glue to these tabs inside, or we can flip them up and do so. So here's one thing we can do. So we know this is the bottom because the tab's right here. So if you can see that tab, see where my thumb is? That's where the tab was that I glued. So that's the bottom of the head. And this is the bottom. So the top is shorter, so you can see it lines up. So we're going to glue this on the inside of this. So let's get this just anchored. So I'm going to anchor this. Make sure you have it the correct way. If you do it this way, you'll see it's shorter. So you would need to make sure there's a little long section here, and then this is the longest part. And I'm going to glue the non-textured side to the non-textured inside. So I'm just lining it up. So you can see right here, I'm lining this up right up to the fold, and we're going to flip it in. So you'll see in a minute. So I'm going to fold those back. I'm going to flip it in once it's attached. So don't do it too early, else you may pull it off the tab. So now we have it in. I have my thumb inside to kind of push it up a little bit. What we're going to do is just add glue to these tabs and then fold them down. So I could have reached in and added glue to these tabs, but the size of it's not really that conducive to reach in with my little chunky fingers. So in lieu of that, this is a different way of doing it. So if you have big hands, or a little bit larger fingers, it gets a little bit more difficult. So I'm just kind of pulling them down, and now I'm going to flip it over. So make sure those are folded in so they'll hit the table. And I started here, so I'm going to go around like this. So it's going to just go clockwise. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing in on the edge, and it's hard to see, I know. The bigger one will be easier to see. And then I'm just going around, rotating it, making sure that I'm pushing it on the edge so the tab folds, inside tab folds meet that inside edge of this panel. And it's nice and tight in there. So that's what it looks like. See those tabs? So we want to make sure those are good and secure. So the back is not as easy. So let's go ahead and close it up. So we're going to put the face right here, but let's put the back on first. So the back, we're going to do the opposite because we have no place to reach in. So we have to make sure it's the correct way. So it's this way with this log slant at the bottom. And we're going to glue it right here. So here's a little trick that I like to do. I'm folding the other ones in. Since it's the back, I kind of folded it up. And then I'm going to add glue. Make sure it's out of my way here. I'm going to make sure that I have the correct way. So here's the long edge. And I'm going to make sure that I put the non-textured down. So the texture will be on the back. And I'm lining it up. So you could do it up in the air too. I mean, meaning like while it's up like this. But some people might not like to do it this way just because it creates kind of a weird fold on the back, but hardly anybody's going to look on the back. So this is the harder part. We're going to add glue just like we did the cubes. We're just going to add glue to all these tabs around here and go by one, kind of close it up. So what I like to do when it comes to this kind of shape, I'm doing this, add as much glue as you can to all these tabs and try to get close to the edges. And they will not overlap once it's glued in the right shape. So these are intentionally shaped so they don't overlap when they're glued on. So then we just lightly place it down. I'm trying to do it for the camera, so, and then I'm going around the edge. So I'm just kind of pushing in the edges to match up and then pushing it in. So as long as you don't push down on the tabs yet until you kind of have it in place, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then once you get everything pushed in to shape, then you can apply pressure. So this could take, 30 seconds to a minute to dry. So make sure you understand how quickly your glue dries. Because you don't want to undo it, so I'm just rubbing around the tabs lightly. And let me flip it over and apply pressure there. So now I'm going to add this front panel, the snowman face. So I'm just going to apply glue as close to the edge as I can. Make sure you have a little wet paper towel or something to wipe off any excess glue that may leak. I'm not really that worried down here or on the top because I'm going to attach this to the body and the top's going to have a hat. So you just want to place it in the section. And then you can go ahead and flip it over and just apply a little pressure to get it good and stuck. So there's the head. So now we're going to do the same thing. So find where the tab is that we glued earlier, which is right here. The top and the bottom are the same length, so this could be deceiving if you're not paying attention to these angles. and not paying attention to where this tab is. So wherever this tab is, we're going to use the bottom part. So just like we did earlier, we're going to glue it to the inside, one side to the inside. This time I'll do it a little bit different. This time I'm going to put my thumb on the tab, that's the bottom right here. So I know that's the bottom piece, so I know the roundest piece will go on the bottom. And I'm going to add glue to these tabs on the inside. And just on one side. So we could have done this with the other one too, but you have to make sure that your glue doesn't dry before you get everything situated. So I need to once again find the place with the tabs right there. I'm going to fold this in, fold all these in, and I'm going to flip it upside down. So the bottom with the tabs right here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the non-textured side down and match it up with the bottom edge, so right here. So I'm going to start with the bottom edge. Once I get into place, I'll just go around and push in the sides just like the head was smaller, but we're just going to go around in order and apply pressure on all the tabs on the outside. So round item, that's typically how I do the round items too, but I decided I wanted to do a little blockier to make it easier for people to make it. I want most of my designs to be accessible from every level. Hopefully I can teach majority of it. So we're just gonna, just like we did with the head, we're gonna anchor. I'll make sure I'm on the bottom here. Yeah, so this is the bottom. So that tab is our telltale sign. And then I'm going to line that up, get that anchored in place. So it's going to be anchored. And then just like we did the head, we're just going to go ahead and add glue around the edges here, these tabs. And then just keep on, as we place it down, we're just going to kind of wiggle it into place to make sure that these edges line up with the tab folds line up with the edges of this panel. And it's really not that big. You can do them all at once. The trick is, especially if you're using something like Scotch Quick Dry, so I'm using art glitter glue. The reason I stopped using, one of the reasons was the thickness of Scotch Quick Dry, and I like the consistency. Now I like the consistency. I didn't like the consistency in art glitter glue early on. It takes some getting used to, but it stays wet just a little bit longer, whereas Scotch Quick Dry would get stuck and I'd have to start over a lot of times. It's just me because I'm very slow. So I'm just going to go around the edges. And I'm just rotating it. And kind of pushing it in from the sides a little bit. Until I get it in the, as close to the, as I can to the shape. And then we can go ahead and rub on those tabs. Then I'm going to flip it over and apply pressure. And I'm grabbing this, we're going to put that there momentarily. So now we're just going to go ahead and add glue to this, just like we did the face. And I try to get as close to the edge as possible. There we go. And line it up. What's nice about this is that because there's a black background for the for both the head and the body, it kind of gives you kind of an edge that shows through the side. So if it's not lined up perfect, it's not going to look bad. You could bling it up if you wanted to too. So now the snowman, let's put him or her together. Him if it's a hat, but could be an androgynous snowman, but we won't go there. You could put a nice flower on the hat. It could be a girl. I don't know. We call them snowmen, but there could be they're snow women. One of the designers that works with me did a snow lady one time. Stacking boxes, using the stacking boxes. It was very cute. Still one of my favorites. And then, so I just added glue to the top there, and I'm just going to line this up. It's the same exact size. I'm just rotating it to make sure I get it into place. So I'm just going to hold it for a little bit. Not too much. We don't want to kill the thing. But you could do that too once you get it in place. Or the other way. If you push too hard, you could start crushing the head or the body. And then we'll put the hat on. So you'll just want to center it. I'm just going to put glue around like the middle of it. Let's see which side's the best. I'll add a little, you could add a little flower or snowflake or something to the hat. I don't have that in the file, but we all have little embellishments we can use. Okay, so now we have the snowman and the blocks. So now we just have to put the blocks in something. So here are the panels, and this is actually the base, which is an optional item. I mean, you don't have to do the base if you don't want. That just has the days until on it. You could do it, make it without it. So I'm just making sure that I have it all folded. So it folds like that. So we're just going to glue these to the inside, these little tabs, and then glue the bottom. So you just want to make sure it's all folded. I'm just rotated that and just lined up that edge with the tab fold there. Oh, what comes in handy with anything like this, which is like a, I'm trying to find it. I have some clothespins. Let's see if I can find them. In my handy dandy little thing here. Here we go. I have little ones and big ones, so you can find these nowadays. If you wanted to, you could, if you wanted to hold it for you, you could use those. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that. Some people use those plastic clips too. I just don't want anything putting indents. So the clothespin thing came out. Somebody gave me these miniature ones a long time ago as a gift. A fellow crafter. And I never knew what I'd use them for. So it turns out I use them for things like this. Except when you have a thing like this in the way, like a... I'm just going to get it around here. Just holding it in place. Fortunately, this is not extremely functional. You want it to stay together, but it's not like a box where there's something that's going to go inside. But you still want the edges to be nice and crisp. Let's take that one off. I'll put it right here. And then I'll get that last one. Which just means I don't have to hold it as long. So you need to hold it as long as your glue dries, and then of course we're getting this last one lined up. So you can see the last one I'm just going to do by hand. Just making sure all the edges are good. Oh, I forgot to put the thing on. You might want to put this on before you close it, but I'll put it on after. It's not a huge deal, but if you choose the side you want it to be, I would usually say this would be the front. But it's whichever looks better. So we're going to just go ahead and close it like we've done all the other closed items. Except I got a little bit too close with the glue this time. Again, this is just a base that's going to sit underneath. So I'm just going to fold it down. Kind of get those sides lined up. Get that out of the way so I don't ruin it. So I'd have to do another printing cut. Because one thing I don't like about printing cut, because they normally do most of my printing cuts on, it depends on which machine, but it's really, I don't use the Cricut 100% of the time, but I do use it for printing cut. But if I want larger printing cuts, I use the Silhouette because it allows me to use my 12x12 printer. So I'm just going to choose one side, and then I'm going to add it whichever side I wanted to be the front, and I'm just going to add this to the front. Just center it. So we have a blooper. I don't know why it's too big. So anyways, we're going to get the right one printed and we'll put it on the front towards the end. So I resized something. That happens. But that's not going to cause any problems. So before the end of this video I'll put it on. But let's move on to the thing that holds the blocks. So we have two pieces here. We have this big piece, which will be the outside of it, and this will be the inside of it. So this will be the inside of it. So let's do the outside first. Let's go ahead and add the panels. So I'm going to assume we're going to make this the top. You have to make the top, the back. We're going to put a panel in the back, the top, and the side. So if you don't know which one you want to, we know the back for sure. They're all the same size. So I embossed these just to give it a fun look. So this is the back of it. Kind of gave it a pretty big offset. And you could put anything up there really. I'm going to make this the top, so I'm committed to making that the top. I'm going to make this the side, these the sides. Obviously, these are the only sides. So these are optional. I mean, you don't have to put any panels on if you don't want. So the thing about this file is that you can change it up a whole lot depending on what you want done. Some people might just want it solid. I always like options. So these I'll explain when we do the last part. So now that we have these in place, we're going to go ahead and start gluing it together, similar to the little blocks. So we're going to go ahead and start here. And we're going to glue it on the inside. So this is just a big version of the blocks in a way. Just, it's not a cube, but so we're just going to line up this edge. And you can reach in to line it up. Once you have it lined up, you can go ahead and flip it over and apply pressure against the tab inside. So we'll do the other side. Well, make sure you fold it quite well. I didn't fold that score really well. So that's what I'm just applying pressure to the tab. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So these 4 tabs up here are just going to fold inward, and that'll help us attach the inside piece once we get to that. So we're just lining this up, and then once we have it in place, just flip it over. And just while I'm holding that in place while I flip that under. And then you, especially if you have a fine tip applicator, you can just reach in that way, or you can go through the larger opening to add glue to that tab. We're going to just go ahead and line this up. I haven't done many of these types of boxes with the inserts, and you'll see in a minute, insets. I find them you have to really pay attention to what you're doing, and it's not that I don't pay attention. It's just, I guess part of it is I was kind of hesitant in trying to teach it. So we'll keep that apart. So this time we have this piece. So this is going to go inside. Oops, inside there. So that means this part will be the part that you slide the block into, and this will be in there, okay? The reason why I'm telling you that is because this time we need to put the tabs on the outside. So I added that tag, the days until Christmas. So early on I made the base bigger, but I found it wasn't needed, and I just didn't adjust the size of the tag. So that happens. So when you put this together, so this is going to go inside there, like I discussed earlier, and the difference is you see how I folded it? I kind of folded it with the natural like mountain folds. For these, these little skinny top ones, not these, but these 4 top ones right here, we're going to want to give them a valley fold or mountain fold. Valley fold. It's a valley fold. So we're going to fold them back, because that's what's going to allow us to attach it to this in here. So, but this time what we want to do is to glue these tabs to the outside so they're not seen on the inside. So the blocks will slide in and out without a problem. So we're going to add glue to these tabs. So we're almost done. This is the last part of it. So we're just going to do that, and you could put it against the table if you'd like to apply pressure. So again, don't glue it to the inside for this little piece. So it keeps it clean inside. It's easier to, a box will have more structural, will be more structurally sound if you have a tab going around the edge rather than inside. And then we'll go ahead and... So now we have those flaps back, like that. How I wanted to do this, because I know others do it differently, is I'm going to put a piece, so these two pieces, one is larger in the middle, so put them against each other, and you can't see with the camera, but one's going to be slightly bigger, and on the inside it'll have little rounded corners. That one you want to put, you don't want to use. You want to use the one that has sharp corners and is smaller than the other one. So that last one is more of a finishing one. So this one we're going to just kind of fold these in. I'm going to slide this carefully over. It is slightly bigger, so it should slide just fine. Just kind of slide it up a little bit. And then we're going to add glue to these tabs. So I'm starting with this little tab on the side. And I'm going to glue that on. So that's how it's going. And the point is so you could actually apply pressure down here. So let's just do these other two. So I tried this type of box several times, different methods. This is what works for me, so it's the method I like the most. It's not always the cleanest, but it's easier to put together in my opinion. So we're just going around this edge. So now you have this little thing right here. So what we're going to do is take this, just drop it in, and we're going to glue it to these tabs. So we're going to add glue to all these tabs and get as close to the edge as you can without it going too close to leak through. I'm being really careful with the glue on this just because I want to make sure that it gets as close to the edge as possible so it adheres, because there's no second chance for this. So we're going to slide this in so you can see you're not going to see the tabs that are on the outside. And we're just going to line, I'm going to line up one side first. That I didn't get completely flat, so I did have a little bulge there. So that's the only thing you have to watch for. Right there I have one. So I'm just going around the edge and making sure that I'm just getting this lined up. And I know you can still see these little tabs, but we're going to cover them with that last piece. Kind of pulling that up to get it a little bit more square. Make sure it's good and then we'll go ahead and, so this is going to be the top because I made the decision to put the panel on. So now we're just going to put this on, and it's a little bit bigger in the middle, so it can hide that imperfection a little bit, but it's still going to show a little bit. But that's okay. So we're just going to add glue on this edge and then add that top border panel. So again, I missed the fold. I didn't fold it very well right there. So that'll happen. And these videos doesn't mean that doesn't mean I'm perfect. I just designed them. And they should go together as long as there's not user error, but when there's user error, because it's so engineered to a certain size that it could be off just a little bit. So it's just off a little bit, but you won't notice once the blocks are in there. So now I'm just going to flip it over, apply pressure. Okay, and the way that I built this was, so let's just say it's, I think it's the first so that I'm recording this on. So the blocks come out just a little bit so you can grab them, and there's some distance, so let's say 24 days. So there's distance between them, so you can easily, you can either toss them out or you can just grab them from top to bottom. So there's the numbers. So you could just use this and put your own embellishment on top. But we're going to go ahead and put the snowman. I'm just going to put it towards the center. Let's do that last though. I'm going to take these out so they don't fall out while I'm doing this. Let's put it on the base. So I'm just going to center it on the base. So you'll have to eyeball that. So what I would do, because it's more of a eyeball, you know, to center it, is I would get a little bit away, put the glue a little bit away from the edge. So you have a little bit of room to wiggle room. So I'm going to go, and it doesn't matter. Let's say I have more space on the back. It's not a huge deal. I mean, you can put it flush to the front if you want. You can have it and have a big edge on the back, or you can, I just want to make sure that it's pretty centered from left to right. So that's how I did it. So I'm just going to flip it over and I'm just doing really light pressure to get it to hold. And the last part is just to add the snowman. So we'll just go ahead and center the snowman up here, and then we'll finish it. So if you did like this project, I'd appreciate a little like below, and or subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. So I'm just going to center it. This one might take a little bit more time to go. So I kind of went, I centered it from left to right. But it's really just whatever you think looks good to you. So I'm just kind of holding it inside a little bit. Remember, it's hollow, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure. I'm just trying to make sure that I have something that I can push down against. So here it is, the finished product. I just had to hold the snowman a little bit longer. And I added a little white accents. I'm going to add a little snowflake to the hat. I added little stickles with glitter glue too add a little bling right on the scarf. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and thank you for watching.